U.S. lobbyist allege political intimidation, threatens to brief Trump. APC faces internal turmoil over consensus candidate. I am Cassie Tony and we'll be right back after this break. Prior to this time, the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar signed a $1.2 billion contract with U.S. lobbying firm in order to strengthen his international reputation and manage political narrative ahead of 2027. To help us break down these headlines and go deeper into the discussion of today is a political analyst, Vincent Okoro. It's a pleasure to have you join us again, Okoro.
It's always my pleasure to be here, taking on the headlines, talking to our viewers, and then for the numerous questions they have, because you just said something about $1.2 billion as a lobbyist contract, where the former vice president is trying to see how he can build his public image, especially with respect to the international community towards 2027 election. You know, first and foremost, you're asking me how I'm doing. That is mind-boggling. You know, in an economy where people are simply finding it difficult to put 1 + 1 together to make it 2 in terms of survival. Now, 1.2 million today currently in currency, that is over 1.5 trillion naira, which is
trillion or billion?
Yes, billion. That is actually trillion. When you're talking about 1.2 billion, that's why I said it's mind-boggling. Is it 1.2 million? Okay, $1.2 million, because I would have simply stand up from this video and run into the streets. Maybe with a prayer that I will be able to meet the contractors in question, so that I will simply lie down and ask them to walk on top of me. Because I could not just imagine that a single individual have that kind of money, you know, just for one aspect of his electioneering towards 2027. We are giving lobbyists 1.2 billion. So thank God, thank you very much for for that correction.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't know what would have become of me right now. I haven't heard that kind of amount.
All right, thank you so much, Vincent. So how do you juxtapose this move by the former vice president? Is it for his interest or for that of Nigerians?
Well, of course, it is both ways, like I will always say, for his interest, for the interest of Nigerians. Because number one, I can be your savior and you don't know. So I have to sometimes prove, we have to prove sometimes to people that what they are looking for, we have it. So Atiku Abubakar, since 2007, he has been trying to make Nigerians understand that he is the Messiah that we need to turn this country around. And looking at the result of all the elections, it's more or less like Nigerians are simply not listening to him. So he is now taking a step to more or less launder its image before Nigerians, before the international community, so that if there's any issue of trust, then trust in him can be restored in the minds of Nigeria. So actually that's for his interest. Then on the part of, if it is interest of Nigerians, well, I think as a human being, I allow my work, I allow my record to do the talking for me. So I don't see why anyone would think that Atiku have to go the route of, paying lobbyists as much as $1.2 million, which is over 1.5 billion, just for his image to be landed before the public that more or less know the person of Atiku already.
All right, thank you so much, Vincent. The lobbying firm are saying that the ruling incumbent government, they are using anti-agency, that's the EFCC, the ICPC, to intimidate opposition figures. And then they made mention of El-Rufai, which is still in ICPC detention. And they've granted him 100 million naira bail, but he's still in ICPC detention.
As we speak, because the bail needs to be perfected, and maybe there are other issues arising.
And then the former Minister of Power, Mamand, who is also being sentenced to 75 years.
He has been caught over the night.
Meanwhile, the ex-minister, the ex-director general of energy sector is moving freely, even with the fact that he siphoned 500 billion naira.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, compared to what the minister of power siphoned, which was 33.8 billion naira. Look at the gap. So this lobbying firm, why are they using El-Rufai as a case study?
Okay, in terms of using El-Rufai as a case study, you know, El-Rufai is an opposition figure as far as the current government at the center is concerned. Now, the lobbyists in question are also working for the life of Atiku. Now, when you look at the ADC as an umbrella, you agree with me that Atiku and El-Rufai, they belong to the same house. Now, in other words, whatever affects El-Rufai affects Atiku, and then also becomes a concern to whoever that's an apologist of Atiku. Now, the lobbyists, for them to have even agreed to follow the path of Atiku as far as the laundering of his image is concerned before Nigerians and before the international community, then it means that they have come to embrace whatever concerns Atiku. Now, towards 2027, if you look at the fact that Atiku is, El-Rufai is someone that is outspoken, someone that have a life followership, someone that if he sneezes, the nation catches cold, then you see that the lobbyists may be seeing him as one of their instruments as far making their work easy is concerned. Now, for how long now, El-Rufai has been in custody of both the EFCC, National Defense, our National Defense Commission, DSS, and what have you, under the supervision of the current president, whom Atiku is actually pitching his tent against. Now, when you look at all this, you see that if I am working for Atiku, and then you have an El-Rufai who is in the same umbrella with Atiku, then you see that whatever is happening to El-Rufai will, one way or the other, have an effect on my work for Atiku. So I think that is where where El-Rufai is coming into the picture. So, and then as long as the government of the day and their agencies continue to incarcerate El-Rufai in their custody with all these allegations of tapping into national security and all the rest of them, it will naturally keep on generating reaction from members of the public, especially those who are in the camp of Atiku and those that are actually working for him towards 2027.
All right, thank you so much. You know, I don't actually feel pity for El-Rufai, because when he was sitting as a minister of the Federal Capital Territory, he did worst. He did so much that the ruling government then under Buhari didn't even say anything. He did worse. So I don't even feel pity for all these politicians when they're being picked up by the EFCC, because if he was still under the umbrella of Tinubu, he would have been working freely as a free bird, flying there and there. But because he fell out with Tinubu, that's why Tinubu, of course, if you fall out with him, he will come after you.
Of course, the fact is that El-Rufai have a difference with the current government. You know, there are those that call themselves Kaba. Like if you listen to one of the spokesperson of Tinubu, not spokesperson now, the Minister of Works, that's David Umahi, while trying to make the people from the Southeast extraction understand that Tinubu has done really well for the people of the Southeast, he make mention of the fact that he was virtually asking those that were listening to him that when last did they hear the word Kaba? Now, invariably making us understand that whatever would have brought that coloration of his government being run by Kaba, you know, as part of his government, he did the best he can to dismantle it. Now, looking at that statement, you will see that you begin to look at the fact that El-Rufai is one of those who would have constituted themselves as Kaba in Tinubu's government, though I doubt that there are no Kaba in the government anyway. We can say rather that Kaba in Tinubu's government if they are subdued or they are silent, whichever way you want to put it. So one of those who were not allowed to join that Kaba, possibly because they will not be able to subdue him or they will not be able to silence him, is El-Rufai. Now, what did they do? El-Rufai, El-Rufai decided to constitute himself to one of the strongest opposition voice as far as the Tinubu government is concerned. Then, more importantly, the person of El-Rufai, Amechi, let's leave Atiku out anyway. El-Rufai and Amechi, and then remember that Obi was equally with these people coming together under the same umbrella of the ADC. It's actually a serious threat as far as the re-election of Mr. President is concerned. So that we can say as a reason why the person of El-Rufai find himself where he is today. Now, the issue of whether we should pity him or not pity him, of course, when you look at the current situation of Nigeria, especially this democratic dispensation, where a government, whatever actions that are about a government, supposed to be about the people, it's supposed to be for the people, it's supposed to be by the people, with the strangulation of our democracy. Then, of course, you may be, one will say that you are right by saying that, okay, you don't pity them, whenever the same government that they brought to power, the same government that is more or less doing the same thing they did. Of course, you cited when he was governor of Kaduna State, when he was minister of the FCT, how he carried himself, how he was autocratic.
And he demolished a lot of houses.
Send a lot of people from their houses to the street. Because of that, I don't pity them. Of course, you are in your right, to form that opinion. Well, if they decide that they don't want to be perceived in negative light as far as their public image is concerned, it is left for them to turn a new leaf. Because as far as I'm concerned, if our government continue to enact anti-people policies, carrying out actions that anti-people, of course, they are going to have more Nigerians talking like you, Kafitoni, that you don't pity them whenever things like this have befallen them.
I don't pity them at all.
It's okay.
The US lobbying firm are threatening to brief President Donald Trump of the things that is happening. So is Atiku betting that Trump's transactional approach to foreign policy will actually favor him, considering the fact that President Donald Trump is a man of his word, is a man of action, and when he says something, he does it without having a second thought. So will this US threatening that they are going to brief
Donald Trump
their
of
the happening, is it going to favor Atiku?
Well, it's either way, whether to favor him or not, because number one, I know that US president and even the lobbyists in question, I doubt if they have their voters card. I doubt if INEC will allow them to register and vote in our elections, because Nigeria is an independent nation. So telling us that you are going to report whatever is happening as far as the actions of our government is concerned to Donald Trump, I begin to imagine if Donald Trump is going to mount CNN. Of course, we know that his moral he comes to us as a very loquacious person that can come up at any time. He has a large follower across his social media platform. Whatever he says, it goes around the world. So I don't know if they are expecting that if they brief the young man in the White House, he's going to make statements that will make Nigerians turn against the government of the day, thereby favoring Atiku. Then on the other way around, does Atiku think that he's the only person, or is Atiku thinking, or will he be thinking that he's the only person that coming out as an opposition figure in the election? Of course, it's not the only one. You have Atiku. In fact, he has not even won the primaries of his election. So if you ask me, he should concentrate more on how he can clinch the ticket of the ADC, so that I can be in the ballot before you now begin to talk about how I can get international support. And then secondly, or more importantly, does Atiku think that he have the public image that will enable Donald Trump to hear that certain persons that are trying to help launder his image are now being targeted by our government, and because of that, it's going to write it up for him? Does he have that profile in terms of his antecedent, in terms of his person? Does he have that profile? I doubt he does.
All right. Still in politics, the APC are crying wolves over consensus candidates. Now the governors are handpicking their successors individually without even considering whether or not they are capable or they are competent or they are even qualified for the position they are being picked for. Is the APC, are they systematically transforming from a political party into a godfather party, into a godfather?
A party ruled by actions of godfathers or wishes of godfathers.
Exactly, because we've seen what is happening in Rivers State. It's the same fallout of godfatherism that Wike and Fubara is battling with
how
years now.
How did APC come about to start with? APC came to us in 2020, around 2013, heading to the 2015 election. And then they have been in power now for over 10 years. Of course, they make us understand that they are going to be in power. Is it 50 years or 100 years they're going to continue ruling Nigeria? Now, when you look at the style of the APC, then I begin to wonder if those that are complaining are actually members of the APC. Then if you look at the style of the APC, then you begin to wonder if those that are crying right now are just waking up or they just became the members of the APC today in this 2027, heading to 2027. Because I don't get it. Before this time, why is it that in Nigeria you cry wolf when it doesn't favor you and then you keep mute when it favors you? Because that's what I'm saying right now. Now, if you look at the divide, those that the anti-democratic actions, so to speak, are favoring, have not come out to say, no, this particular food you dish for me is supposed to be for all of us. They haven't come out to say it. But we are only hearing the cry of those that felt that they have been dealt a blow by the actions of the so-called godfathers. They've been sidelined. Now, in the first place, a lot of the loyalists, in quote, because politics in Nigeria is more about having a godfather up there and being loyal to the godfather. A godfather, a particular personality, a politician in this case, is in the PDP, is moving to the APC. Then you see his followers moving with him, hook, line, and sinker. And then that calls to question about if these people even have ideas of what a political party is before they even move in the first place. Now, as it is today, we are seeing it all over the place. We are seeing it all over the media that a lot is happening that are simply anti-people, that are not supposed to be identified with a party that prides itself as a progressive party. But it is what it is. Those who feel that they have been wrongly treated in the APC, maybe it is time for them to take a bow and prove to Nigerians that their ideas are actually different from what the APC represents and possibly move to other parties to seek their aspiration.
All right, thank you. We've all seen what is happening in Kwara State, Yobe, and Taraba, where heavyweight politicians and aspirants, they are openly boycotting meetings and buying parallel forms. Now, the APC, are they ready to hand over their seat to the opposition because of the internal crisis that is happening within their party?
Well, I want to say that a lot of Nigerians out there may be rejoicing, may be celebrating each time they hear the news of the rancors that is happening in the APC. Of course, there are opposition political parties that will equally be happy as well that these rancors that we are seeing in APC is actually occurring. Because now, like I said a while ago, the style of the APC leaves a lot to be desired as far what democracy should be is concerned. So now we are having an APC in which a lot of governors, a lot of aspirants, a lot of those who are actually members of Senate, House of Assembly are crying wolf that they are being shortchanged. Of course, such will continue to constitute a minus as far as the fortune of the APC heading to 2027 is concerned. So if it is something that they are concerned about, that, okay, we need to put our house in order, we cannot allow the damages, the cracks that are happening to continue, it is left for them to answer. And for the opposition, I believe they are not going to stay aloof. Rather, they will capitalize on the issues in the APC and then pull themselves together, in order to present themselves as a formidable front heading to 2027.
All right, there's a friction in Nasarawa and Benue State where Governor Sule in Nasarawa State is facing heavy pushback from Senator Wadada. And then in Benue State, Governor Alia Consensus is being pushed openly by Matia Yuan. Are these governors losing control of their own state, or are they simply out of touch with their loyal local party basis?
Of course, it can be both ways, because you are talking about as far them being chief executive officers of the state is concerned. You are expecting that they are going to have a free ride or a smooth ride.
Yeah.
Consensus arrangement where there will be no even anybody trying to, contest against them. But we are seeing that that is not the same in those states. Now, automatically, it should tell you that in the past 3 years plus that they have been in the aim of affairs of their state, there are things they may not have done rightly. Now, politics is a game of interest. There are people that help you to power. After you came to power, after achieving that which you desired as a party man, how did you treat members of your party? How did you treat those that help you to power? And more importantly, what are the feeders from the electorate? Because I can tell you for free that for any state or any constituency or any nation, the voice of the people remains the voice of God. So if the people are coming out to say, look, this man has done well, of course, those that are fighting against them, against the man, the governors in this case, are going to be overwhelmed by the people. But if you are not doing your party men well, and at the same time the people have nothing much to hold on to that you have done for them for the time that you have stayed, of course the people will help energize those that are fighting you within your party, and then you are bound to struggle. So I think that's just what is happening in those states.
All right, thank you so much, Vincent. We've come to the end of the show, State of the Matters. Many thanks, Vincent, for joining us.
It's always a pleasure to be here, and of course, I believe that we have been able to do justice to the matters that we raised today, and then our people out there, our viewers, are more informed than they were before we actually kick-started the show.
We just hope that the 2027 general election will be free and fair, which the possibility of that actually happen is not even guaranteed. Many thanks to you, amazing viewers, for joining us. I am Cassie Tony, reminding you to stay informed and stay ahead. And do well to join us next time for more breaking news. Still have a beautiful day.